Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the old day job, I am off to check out the new horror film, Good Boy. Good Boy is directed by Ben Leonberg, and it's starring his dog, Indy. This movie tells the story of a man and his dog who moved to a house in the country, and when you know it, this house is haunted. But this isn't your normal haunted horror film, oh no, because it's told from the perspective of the dog, Indy. This film has a human being in it, but they are far from the star of the film. They don't really get seen a whole lot. Everything is just Indy the dog. What is going on in this house? What is the mystery? What is this haunting? We learn everything through the eyes of the dog. I have been super stoked to check this movie out ever since I heard about it. I believe it was released last year at Fantastic Fest, and I have been dying to see this movie. Once I heard that IFC and Shudder picked this movie up, I was really hoping that Shudder put this movie into theaters because I love seeing unique horror in theaters. And that's one thing I absolutely love about Shudder too, is they might be a streaming service, but they do theatrical releases of the movies that I feel like they think they're going to do well. Like they'll put them out there if they think they've got themselves a winner. And I honestly think that this one is going to be a winner too. It just looks so cool. I like the entire idea of this. And the fact that this is the director's personal dog. This isn't a movie star dog or anyone like that. This is not a trained dog to be in movies. This is his own dog. He got this idea to make a movie about, from the perspective of the dog, and he used his own dog. I just thought that was great. Well, you know what? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbering on. It is time for me to get out the door because, one, I got to get to the old day job, and then I'm off to see Good Boy. Welcome back. Just getting home from Good Boy, and guys, I really enjoyed this movie. I am just so surprised at how entertained I was, literally just watching a dog walk around a house and look at shadows. Now, normally I have negatives and positives, but this time around I don't really have anything negative to say, but I will say that there's some mixed feelings about this movie that I think some folks might have. First off, the way that this film is actually presented. Now, this movie is told through the perspective of the family dog. Now, I'm not saying that the camera is the dog. There's a couple of moments where we're looking through his eyes, but most of the time the camera is just focused on the dog. So basically, in a regular haunted house film, you would have the human going around trying to solve the mystery, trying to figure out what's going on, what's scaring the people in the house. But in this film, you have the dog going around sniffing and trying to figure out what's going on. And the range of emotion that they're able to get out of this dog is amazing. And I'll get into that a little bit more into the positives. But if you're someone that needs a lot of action, a lot of dialogue to be able to tell the story and really take in a lot of entertainment, there might not be a lot of value for you in this film, but I honestly think that it's still, if you're a big fan of horror, I say give it a shot and watch it because this experience was amazing. It is so cool how this film just draws you in and how much you pick up by just watching things, listening to sounds, picking up on details of just things that are in the background. This film is such a cool, it's just so well made that it does a great job of delivering the story with such little dialogue. But I can completely understand where somebody might be turned off by something like that. The cinematography in this is also, while it was really cool, it is from a dog's perspective, okay? So everything is very low to the ground. You're not going to be seeing a whole lot of ceilings in this film. Everything is about 3 feet off of the ground to really give you that limited perspective of the dog itself. Again, that might bother you with the way that the cinematography is done in this film. There's also a little bit of handheld cam that's used in this that gives a little bit of a shaky feel to it, a little bit of a floaty feel to what's going on, but nothing, in my opinion, would gives you any kind of nausea. It's just more of an effect to make it feel like you're there with them in order to really drive the action of what's going on without actually having to have the dog run around like a crazy dog. It just uses a little bit of camera effect in order to kind of get stuff like that. In fact, the camera effects are amazing that they use in order to emit the emotions from the dog. So we're just going to slide into those positives, shall we? Because that's the first thing I want to talk about. The film does a really cool little trick where it will film something and then shoot back into the dog. So it will show like an extremely tense moment that makes you, the viewer, uncomfortable and tense and makes you think that you're seeing things in the shadows and there's a ghosty ghost. And then it shoots back over to the dog's face. And so you immediately think that dog is scared as hell. Look at those eyes. That poor dog is trembling. When in reality, the dog's just probably sitting there and they just filmed it. But the filmmaker does this really cool technique by basically tricking your brain into thinking that the dog does have certain emotions going on because of the imagery that they're showing you. So the cinematography was great. I love some of the angles. I love the way that, yes, this was kept at a very low level, just like you are with the dog. There are very, very few times that we actually get to see a wide open shot of what is all going on. Almost everything is contained within inside the house, and so they're utilizing a lot of the shadows and everything to really drive home a lot of the dread, the foreboding, and the fear. This movie does not rely a lot on jump scares or anything like that. I'm not saying that there aren't jump scares. There are some pretty solid little scares in that category in this film, but most of this movie is just playing with your brain. It is making you think that something is there when something might not be there at any given time. You never really know exactly what's going to happen to you because the rules are so different in this film than usual. We all know the tropes when it comes to these ghost stories with humans. We do not know the dog tropes. So it was almost like going into a completely different environment with watching a supernatural horror film. And let me tell you guys, I'm someone who cannot stand supernatural horror films, and I absolutely loved this movie. It does this other thing too, that as you're watching the film, you start to question whether or not this is something supernatural or if it's just the dog's perspective of what things are happening, or the things that are happening. Think of the cartoon series Courage the Cowardly Dog. For a little while now, there's been a theory going around that the stories in Courage the Cowardly Dog are told from a dog's perspective. So something that completely seems normal to us, like a vacuum cleaner, is this evil monster that Courage must destroy. The film kind of plays into stuff like that because we are the dog following around trying to figure out what's going on. And I just love the way that they're able to emote so much feeling and emotion into this movie without having to use a lot of dialogue. And let me tell you folks, there are some very hard-hitting emotional moments in this film that is really going to hit you hard in the old heartstrings. So there's a little warning for you. Now I will say, when I am done, when I get to the end of my full-on review, I will, because I know there are some folks out there that they are turned off by horror that harms animals in any way, shape, or form. So if you want to know what happens, I will give a spoiler only about the dog at the end of the video. I'll give you a warning and let you know, okay? Because I know some folks are very concerned about that. And to be honest, it does not affect whatsoever the enjoyment of this film. In fact, it might enhance it. Who knows? But anyways, all in all, guys, I would have to say that this is an extremely solid, well-made horror film that is gonna give you the EBGB creepies and give you some very solid scares. What's also amazing about this film is this is a solid PG-13 horror film. So if you have some younger horror fans who want to see something that's gonna probably scare the pants off of them, this is an excellent film to take them to go see for good old Halloween. So there you have it, guys. This is a solid. Get out there in theaters, support this film. Also, I normally do a little gag where I wait till the end, but this time around, I want to tell you right out the gate, stick around for the end credits. If you want to know how they were able to achieve some of the things in this film with the dog, how they were able to direct a dog and everything like that, after the credits of this film, there is a short little, and I do mean short, it's not very long, little documentary, a little special feature, you might say, of how this was put together and how much work went into this film, not just for the humans, but for our good old dog friend Indy as well. All right, guys, so here we have it. Okay, here we go. All right, was the dog okay? Yes, the dog was okay. All right, folks, thanks again for checking out the Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.